Today we're sewing the IndieStitch featured pattern for January 2024. These are the Sinclair Flex leggings. I'm sewing the full-length leggings today at the regular sizing, and even though I would usually select a petite sizing because I am 5'0", the regular fit ended up fitting me just right, going all the way to my ankle as it should. So just something to think about as you're considering which size range to choose from. I'm using my serger today for the core construction and using my regular sewing machine for the top stitching, choosing a regular zigzag stitch with about a 3mm width. I think you'll love these leggings, especially as they come together quickly. Let's get started. Place your color block top piece and your front piece right sides together, matching the notches and pin in place. Doing this for both top pieces along the front side seams. And then sew those color block top pieces to the front side seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then press those seam allowances toward the front piece. Now we'll take one of our back pieces and we'll attach the side bottom piece. Place these pieces right sides together and pin in place along that bottom side edge. Doing this for both sets of back and side bottom pieces. And then sew the side bottom pieces to the back pant with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then press those seam allowances toward the side bottom piece. Place your gussets together as moving forward they will be one piece, matching them up perfectly one on top of the other. I've chosen to place my gusset pieces together in such a way that they'll match the colors of my front and back pieces. Now we'll place these gusset pieces right sides together with the back piece along the bottom of the crotch curve. Make sure to match the double notches and pin in place. And then sew that gusset in place with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here is the right side of my back piece, and here is the gusset piece opened out over its seam allowance. Now we'll place our remaining back piece right sides together with the top of the other back piece. We're going to pin together from the top to the gusset, and then we're also going to pin the remaining side of the gusset matching the notches along the bottom of the crotch curve. Then we'll sew the back pieces together and the gusset through the entire curved edge of the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we can open up the bottom crotch area of the back piece, as well as opening up the bottom crotch area of the front piece and place the front to back pieces right sides together. Start pinning together at the center crotch area of your front piece, which will align with the center notch on your gusset. And then continue pinning the inseam together from this point outward. Then we can start sewing from the bottom of one leg with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, straight across that crotch area, and all the way down to the bottom of the opposite leg. Now that inseam is sewn, we're going to place the front and back pieces right sides together once again along the side seams. And pin each of the side seams from top to bottom. And then sew both of your side seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and press the seams toward the back of the garment. Place your corresponding side waistband sets right sides together and pin along the top edges. And then sew the top edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Cut yourself 2 pieces of elastic to the same length of the seam that we just sewed plus 3/8 of an inch. Then we're going to place the elastic on top of the seam allowance so that it lays right on top of the bottommost edge of our stitching and overhangs over the opposite edge, and pin that in place. Now we're going to stitch the elastic in place, making sure that we're stitching within our seam allowance, doing this for both side waistband pieces. I'm just going to be using a regular zigzag stitch here. Then we can open out that seam and press that seam allowance and the elastic toward the lining section of your side waistband. Then stitching from the right side of the fabric, top stitch close to that seam line, stitching that inner side waistband piece to its seam allowance from one side to the other, doing this for both side waistband pieces. Now we're going to attach the side waistbands to the front waistband. Place each side waistband right sides together with the front waistband matching the double notches, and pin in place. Doing this to attach both side waistbands. Sew both seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then once they're sewn, you'll press the seam allowances toward the front waistband. Now we can place the back waistband right sides together with both side waistbands and pin the outer edges. And then sew both of those seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we can fold the waistband in half, wrong sides together, and begin attaching the bottom edges to the leggings. Place your waistband and the top of your leggings right sides together and pin them in place, matching your seams. And then sew that waistband seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now to hem the bottom edges of both pant legs, I'm going to fold those raw edges to the wrong side by 1 inch and pin in place. Then I'm going to take both of these pant legs to the sewing machine, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch to hem those edges all the way around. And now your leggings are complete. Thank you for watching this sew along. For more great full-length sewing tutorials, you can find me at Sew Happy on YouTube. I'll see you in the next video.